The rules are clear. This gate stays locked.
What, like?
My deed says I have access to this street. You can't block me.
At 6:12 a.m., I hit the brakes, coffee sloshing hot on my hand, because there it was, under the gray cold air, a shiny brass padlock clamped on the Cul De Sac gate, a thick chain biting the metal like a jaw. The LED security light blinked like a bored cop. The smell of wet asphalt from last night's sprinkle mixed with my burning toast breath. I could hear the school bus somewhere past the fence, the exact life I needed and couldn't reach. A laminated sign flapped on the chain, closed for community safety. 48 hours. My neighbor Tom whispered from his idling Prius like we were in a spy movie. She did it. Bored President Karen. I stared at the lock and felt something click in me. This fight is simple. HOA Padlocked. The Cul De Sac gate. For 48 hours. Then I pulled the deed. I walked to Karen's porch at 7:01 a.m., still smelling like coffee and asphalt. She opened the door with a half smile and a full clipboard. She said the board had voted at an emergency meeting last night, 9 p.m., to shut the gate so delivery drivers would stop cutting through. I said we were trapped from the only exit, and my brother's insulin delivery was due by noon. She said there were alternate routes and pointed to a muddy construction easement that looked like a goat path. When I asked for the vote record, she said the secretary was unavailable and the minutes would post in due time. Behind her curtains, I saw movement. Neighbors saw me, then melted back like shadows. One text popped on my phone from a number I didn't know. Stop pushing. She likes calling the police. I set my line in the sand on May 3rd, 2024, exactly 10:18 a.m., when a fire truck stopped at the gate, red lights flashing, then backed away. That's when the heat in my chest turned cold and clear. I promised myself I would use only proper channels. No bolt cutters. No screaming matches. First info. I called the city records desk and asked for plats, easements, and the parcel deed. At lunch, I opened my laptop, the smell of cheap office coffee, and started a paper storm. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. Timeline item 1, April 5 at 4:27 a.m., false trespass call. Timeline item 2, April 30th at 8:16 p.m., threat of a $900 special compliance assessment. Blocking a public right-of-way is illegal. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. By 3:42 p.m., the city clerk slid a heavy file across the counter. The file landed with 63 pages. On top sat a plat map with a faint pencil note from 1998. Public right-of-way must remain open. The deed sat behind it like a quiet bomb. The gate was on a strip held by the city with a recorded easement through our circle. The HOA could maintain the gate, but could not block it. I built my reveal. I emailed the board a calm invitation for a safety check at 6:00 p.m. in the Cul De Sac, copied to the city code compliance officer, the fire marshal, and the district council aide. I told neighbors to bring lawn chairs and phones, not to fight, to watch, to breathe, to let the paperwork do the shouting. 13 separate complaints went to the 311 hotline in 1 hour, all documented with photos of stalled delivery trucks and a mail carrier shrugging helpless. At 6:05 p.m., the Cul De Sac looked like a tiny stadium. Kids chalked rocket ships on the curb. Phones were up. I set a folding table on the sidewalk and clicked open the binder. Karen marched over with her clipboard army, 2 board members trailing. She announced the gate would stay shut because of liability exposure, and tried to hand me a cease and desist letter with my name misspelled. I nodded, then turned the binder to the crowd and the officers walking up the drive. Here is the parcel deed. Here is the plat map. Here is the 1998 easement note. I tapped the sign page and kept my voice easy. The HOA can maintain the gate. The HOA cannot block a public right-of-way. The code officer took the copies, then raised his voice so the phones picked it up. Open the gate now, the fire marshal added. Clear as a bell. Or we cite at $200 per hour and notify the city attorney. Karen fumbled with the padlock and found the key on a pink lanyard that said, Boss. The chain rattled open. The gate groaned like it was tired of being dramatic. Neighbors burst into claps that sounded like rain on a tin roof. Tom yelled, Free the Cul De Sac, and someone snorted with laughter so hard it wheezed. Kids whooped. A woman live-streamed, and the comments stacked up fast. Karen got deeded. Local. Within minutes, the council aide tweeted a photo of our open gate with the words, Thank you for flagging. Public access restored. The code officer wrote a notice, the kind that sticks. The police, who had been lingering careful and quiet, nodded at me and said, Good work doing this the right way. Across the circle, Karen tried to talk about temporary closures, but the code officer handed her the form and pointed at the fine box. The aftermath came simple and clean. The board called an emergency meeting, this time with chairs. The minutes posted the next morning at 8:11 a.m., and the apology was short and plain. The gate must remain open except for repairs with a city permit. The HOA absorbed the fines and refunded 3 families for tow fees from Karen's earlier enforcement sweeps. They canceled the $900 scare letter and removed the threat language from our bylaws. The council office set up a training on easements for all HOAs in the district, which felt like sunlight in a dusty room. A week later, we held a block party at sunset, grills smoking sweet, kids riding circles, and music soft. Karen came by with store cookies and didn't speak. Tom handed me a paper crown that said Deed King, and we both cracked up. It felt peaceful again, like we had finally opened more than a gate. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.